Welcome to the Expert Connect Wellness Chats. We are here today with Colette and Gary Benoit, who are the founders of Benoit Wellness Consulting. And today we'll be talking about mental health in first responders. Welcome, Gary and Colette. How are you guys doing today?
Good, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. The pleasure is mine. So why don't we get right into it, and you guys tell us about your project and what inspired you to create this project and what makes Benoit Wellness Consulting unique?
Go ahead.
So about 2007, roughly, I was involved in an officer-involved shooting. I've been a police officer for 22 years. My wife has been with me for 17 years. Through those times, we found ourselves struggling at times. We had after 2007, we were in a really bad position as a family, and I was disconnected. I was angry. I was I was going on this rabbit hole, I guess, of just not being present, not being available for my family, and just doing things that were, like, I was drinking more, and I was just
Destructive.
Destructive, I guess, in a way, is the word I'm looking for. And after that, we decided we'd dig ourselves out of that hole a little bit, and we started working on ourselves, and we realized that we became flourished and become just a really good couple and a good family, and we really strengthened our family unit. And we realized that, wow, if we can get out of this, so can others. And I bet you there's other people that are just like me that are going through this. And so we developed our company to really focus on first responders and their families, to give them the ability to be stronger and develop stronger, healthy relationships, to have a foundation to fall back on when they are facing stresses, because it's not about if it's going to happen to us, and especially in our profession, it's about when it's going to happen, because it's going to happen, because we're going to see tragedy on a daily basis potentially. And then we also noticed that we saw suicide rates increasing, we saw the mental health injuries among first responders increasing, and seeing all that stuff, we felt an obligation that if we can help someone, then we wanted to do that. And so we founded our company, founded our project, the Frontline Resiliency Project.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I guess the part about what makes it unique is there's a lot of programs out there that we'll be talking about later that helps the first responder, like the member, but not a lot out there that incorporates family. And we decided that was such an important factor, because when things are tough at work, your support group should be your family, and you should have a strong foundation at home, because those ultimately are going to be the people that support you first. And so we wanted to include the family in our project.
And that family can be your spouse, or it can be your parents, it can be your brothers and sisters. It's that family unit around you that you surround yourself with on a daily basis, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think as you're talking, Gary, I was just thinking about mental health and how important mental health is in all of this, and how everything is sort of related back to that. So tell us a bit about how has the stigma of mental health changed over the years?
For sure. Like, I look back in 2007, and I guarantee you, when I look back at what I was going through and all the symptoms that I was exhibiting, I had post-traumatic stress disorder. I can say that with an absolute. But back then, it wasn't really talked about. No one spoke about it. If you had those issues, you were feeling those things, no one said anything about it, because we were very cautious about saying that, because if you said it, you were labeled, and then you were potentially weak, and no one wanted to work with you because you were that guy, quote unquote, that guy. As time's gone on, I think now when I look at it, the difference between 2007 and now is 13 years. It's really changed around the talking about it. So people are definitely talking more about it. They're being more open when they have these injuries. But that doesn't mean that there's not still a stigma involved there. They are sharing their story more, and they're standing up, and by telling that story, we're able to see that we're all very alike. It doesn't matter if we're fire, police, EMS, dispatchers, whatever first responder career you're in, a lot of it's very, very similar. And that's really, really valuable, because it's the feeling of not being alone, right? We don't want to feel like we're alone in that, because we do tend to isolate when we're in that moment. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's so valuable to have that story out there. The other problem that I see, though, is that we need to have action around that. So the talking and the communication is really, really good, and it's valuable to change the way people view it and making it more mainstream. But it's the action around it that we really need to to improve upon, from sharing your story and then making that change with actions. And lots of times that first step is just as simple as making our marriages better, our families better, because if we're struggling and we're at home and we're struggling, there's no way we can help anybody else take those action steps. And that action step is that, to take care of yourself and your spouse.
Yeah, I think too that there's a bit of a stigma even in amongst first responder families, that they don't want to admit to other family members or friends or colleagues that they may have a problem, or that their spouse, who is the first responder, has a problem or needs help. And so I think that, like Gary said, the sharing of the story is so valuable, but it goes beyond that, and it really you need to follow up with action. So talking about it can only go, so far, and it does heal some people, but really getting into, okay, what can I do? What are the steps to make me better, my family better, work better, so that I don't have, the tendency to start to spiral and be destructive. And
like I say, that's part of another reason why we wanted to have the company that we do have, and why we have the mission that we do have, because we want to provide them something that they can work on, an action step or two that they can take out of our teachings, right?
Yeah, no, I think action steps are important because we can all tell stories, but until we truly take some action, we won't be able to get the results that we want to see. So what are some of the support that is in place right now for first responders who are struggling with their mental health? What kind of support?
Yeah, there's quite a few, I guess, that come up, and lots of agencies have what they call critical incident stress management. People that are trained under CISM, and they come out after a critical incident, and they speak with the member, and they see how they're doing, and they get that feedback like right away, right at the time. My agency has an employee assistance program. Most departments have something similar to that, where they provide like a providers list for like psychologists and psychiatrists, occupational therapists.
Yeah.
And so that's very clinician based or clinical based, with professionals that when you're in that really deep crisis mode, that's really, really important to have access to it. And I would recommend anybody who's in that moment where they're in that very dark place and they're at that most high importance or most critical moment in their life, to reach out to those people, to seek that support, because they can really help you in that most critical time. There's WCB has a Millard program that works with occupational stress injury stuff as well. But that's through Workmen's Compensation Board, so you have to be diagnosed and then put off on WCB to get access to something like that. And is there anything else we have there?
Well, you have with the CISM is also the reintegration back
That's right.
into your job. So if you're, needing that extra help with psychologists, they give you the list and they get you the help you need. But once you're ready to come back to work, they do an integration. So making sure you're able to do the duties of your job. So taking you to the gun range and making sure you feel okay and you can actually shoot your gun again. I'm assuming with firemen, I'm not sure, but like going out to fires and car accidents, and you work with someone to make sure that you're okay to attend those types of calls again. So really getting them comfortable, and allowing the members to share how they're feeling during those processes. So yeah, it's a really great program to have in place.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I think one of the gaps we are seeing as a company is there's no alternative choices for these members to pick from. It's like Gary said, very clinician based, which is amazing, and we need that. But there are some people who maybe psychologists don't sit well with them. And so they're open to other modalities like life coaching, grief recovery method, transformational cellular healing, Reiki, emotional freedom techniques. Some of these are evidence-based, and they have helped so many people have had trauma in their life and PTSD, but because they aren't doctors or a psychologist or psychiatrist, they're not on those lists. So I feel like as we're evolving as a society and there's more alternative healing practices out there that we should start incorporating them into these employee assistant programs so that people have more options to choose from.
And sometimes we're not, like, the members aren't necessarily in that dire need of that clinical assistance. That maybe they're in the beginning stages of this and they're realizing that they have potentially some work to do, or they're realizing some signs that come up at home, or they're fighting more at home, and they just want to get some assistance. And what other things can I be doing to improve that home life, to improve what's happening when I'm feeling this way? And that doesn't always mean going to a psychologist, psychiatrist. I mean, they would probably agree. They don't want to go and sit down with a doctor to discuss this, because it's more of what else can I do? And it's an alternative way to really gain that healing, gain that foundation, gain that ability to have resilience. You know, I think with resilience, we talk about this being, it's really resilient, bouncing back from tragedy or trauma. It's not something that you can learn and just have. Resiliency doesn't just happen one time. You don't just do it once and I've got resiliency and I'm always going to be resilient, because that's not the way life works. Life continues to throw stuff at you that you're not expecting. And resiliency is a job that you need to continue to refresh and work on and develop your techniques and develop what works for you. And by continually revisiting resiliency, you can really strengthen how you are at home and how you are. And then you learn new tools. Every time you take something else, it's a new thing to learn.
It's not everything is going to work every time, right? So you may be at a point in your life where some accountability coaching with a life coach is great, and then maybe something really traumatic happens at work and you do need to go see that psychologist. And so it's, like Gary said, it's very fluid.
It's very fluid.
Yeah, 100%. And I know, Colette, you offer some of these modalities as well. And I think that is fantastic. And we do need alternate ways of seeking help and getting better. But what also I think is very interesting is during this pandemic, while a lot of us got an opportunity to work from home, little did we realize that the first responders never got to almost work from home. They had to be there. Did anything happen to anybody to keep our community safe? Our first responders were there. But I feel that we are, in a lot of ways, we are very reactive. We only react to. So when our mental health is really bad, then we will go and seek help. What is there anything that first responders can do to become proactive in seeking the help and support before they get to that stage?
Yeah, this is something that we're very passionate about, is the we call it pre-trauma resiliency. Mm-hmm. And so really, even when things are going good, you can always work on building those resiliency tools. Mm-hmm. And so learning different things that you can use in case when crisis hits. And so for members in, dispatch and paramedics and firemen and police, we believe that there needs to be more in the academies and the recruit classes, or when you go to school, that offers more resiliency training and different things that they can use going forward in their careers. And just learning techniques to reduce the overall stress in your life, and build that foundation so that you have something to grasp onto when times get tough.
And I would also argue that if you are in a very good place in your life and you invest in yourself, you invest in your own resilience, and you take the opportunity at that moment to engage in something new and learn some new tools, you are better equipped to learn those more tools and keep them with you than when you're already in a crisis state. If you're already in a crisis state, you'll only have the capacity to take on so much information, and that's all you can take on, because that is all you have. Mm-hmm. So if you're in a better place in your life and you have a decent stress over home, and you have a good relationship with your wife, but you can always make it better, that's the time to really take advantage and learn new skills, because ultimately that's a proactive step that you're going to be able to do to continue to build your resilience, to continue to have the tools in the toolbox when stuff does hit the fan, ultimately, right? And so, yeah,
I think it also, like, going back to the recruits and those in the trainings, the foundational training, really, you know, we all know how habits are developed. They say, well, I've heard you do something 2 weeks, every day for 2 weeks. Other people say every day for 30 days, and you develop a habit. And so if these are things that they're doing in school, in training, in recruit class, they're developing those habits to carry forward for their career. So.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think these tools are really beneficial for the first responders to learn before they truly get out on the streets, so they're able to utilize them should the need come.
Yes.
And I think that is very, very important. What will be your advice to any first responder who's struggling out there today?
I think the first thing is, and it may sound cliche, but like, you're not alone. Like, everybody's, you know, struggles at some point in their life, and just knowing that there's nothing wrong with you. It's not bad. And just really having the courage to take that step and ask for help, whether it's a coworker, family member, friend, and just let them know that you are struggling. And there's so many resources out there that are free and confidential. I mean, we talked about the stuff at work already, but outside of work, there's like the OSI CAN Alberta Peer Support Group is through the Canadian Mental Health Association. Gary's actually a facilitator for the Edmonton one, and they meet once a week. There's a chapter in Leduc, Edmonton, Stony Plain is starting up. And yeah, it's right now over Zoom, but it's confidential. It's free. It's other people that have been there, that have recovered. And so just a lot of different options. There's
OSI CAN specifically, there's a lot of people that are even in different stages of recovery, which is actually really good, because you'll hear from all stages of the people. And I think that it's important, especially if you join something like that and you want to learn, it's nice to see where people are at and how it's similar to where you're at too, as well.
And then there's also Legacy Place Society that's down in Calgary, and they offer a 24-hour crisis line, again, confidential, no charge. So there's a new group starting, Wayfinders. Like, there's so many out there. I mean, we deal primarily with first responders, and we host connection nights once a month in Edmonton, just bringing people together in a safe, confidential environment for them to share their story and seek support. So there's lots out there that people can utilize if they want to, right? And so I think it's just really getting across that it's okay to ask for help. And I guess, you know, being on the other side of it, that it was worth every amount of shame or embarrassment that you might have felt is worth it.
Yeah, like, I got to be honest, like, being where I was and looking where I am, it's taken me 13 years to get here. It hasn't been roses every day. We're not perfect, and it's not about perfection. It's about progress, right? And that progress may look weird and non-linear, and 2 steps forward and 4 steps sideways and 1 step back, and then you go forward again. It doesn't matter. Understanding that that's the way it looks, and it's okay. And like I say, she's right. The effort you put in and all the pain and all the potential embarrassment that you may feel, man, it's so worth it when you can come out and you can look at your spouse and you can have the feelings and have the strength in that family to know that when the next storm comes, I'm not going to be in that same position. I'm going to be able to weather that way easier and better than the last time. And it's worth it.
Yeah. You know what? Thank you so much for sharing that. I think both Gary and Colette, I think that was so powerful to be able to, and I think being vulnerable takes a lot of courage, but we all have to show up and be courageous for our friends and families and to share our stories so that we can also encourage others to seek help. And I think not only with first responders, I was just talking to another friend of mine, and as you were talking, Colette, you said something where we always feel that we are the only one. Nobody else is going through this. I am the only one going through this. So what help is out there? Should I seek out for resources? There's so much shame. And I think a friend of mine said, I feel like I am the only person in the situation that she was in. And I also had to remind her, first responder or not, I think the pandemic has truly done a number on all of us. But today, I think it was so important that we talked about first responders, and we are not in this alone. It's a very important message for people to hear. And so if people want to come and check out your website, Colette, where will they be able to find you guys?
Yeah, it's Benoit Wellness Consulting. So our website, everything, all of our handles are Benoit Wellness Consulting. So very easy. And we're on mostly Facebook, Instagram, and then our website.
And like I say, if you're not a first responder, that's cool too, because we still work with anybody who is struggling or needs some help with some resources or needs some foundational training or whatever that might be, through coaching and mentoring and whatever else we can do for you. By all means, please reach out. Doesn't matter who you are. Yes, the project is based on first responders, but ultimately it's for everybody.
And with the grief recovery, it's again on my website as well. It's through our company, but that is, yes, for everyone, because everyone's experienced a loss, whether it's a pet, a loved one, moving, COVID. There's a loss in so much right now. And yeah, so just reach out, send us a message. We'd be happy to chat with you.
Excellent. That sounds fantastic. Well, that wraps this episode up. Thank you so much once again for joining us and sharing amazing insights with us. Thank you, everybody, for watching this, and stay tuned for more episodes. Stay safe.